Hi guys, welcome back to a new knitting podcast. My name is Claudia and welcome here on Claudia's Knits, where I like to talk about my colorful knitwear and all my yarn obsessions. I'm finishing up my neutral era because last podcast I showed you a couple of neutral whips. Well, I have 3 finished objects today. It has been a month and a half, I believe. To be honest, I like knitting or crafting more than filming and talking about it at the moment, and it's turning a little bit into slow craft for me. But yeah, I have 3 finished objects, a whip. I want to talk about the Christmas sweater and all that stuff because I'm tired of it. But I do want to talk about that. So yeah, I have been knitting on the one hand quite a bit because I finished 2 sweaters. But on the other hand, I've been working out quite a bit. Work has been nice and busy. The weather is getting better and better, and that means I'm getting outside a little bit more. So I feel like knitting is not my obsession at the moment, but I do enjoy it to just relax and calm down. So before we get started on the first whip, I'm wearing my storm sweater. It's patterned by Petiteknit. It's an all over textured pattern. As you know, I knitted this in Drops Flora Held Double, which is 100%, no, not 100%. It's a fingering weight yarn and it's a mix of merino and alpaca. So it itches a little bit around the neckline, to be honest. It's maybe a little bit too cropped. I don't really like the fit of it, but this yellow screams this season still. So I am happy that I have a better yellow sweater in my collection at the moment. Although I am a little bit hot. So no tea for me today, just some iced tea. First, let's talk about a simple finished object real quick. I'm not really happy about it, but this weekend hat, I've talked about that in a couple of episodes before. This is not for me. This is meant as a gift. Didn't end up gifting it for some reasons, but also it is too big. So I need to alter it a little bit. I have talked about the weekend hat pattern by Petiteknit so many times now this last winter. It's basically my favorite hat knitting pattern because it's an all over rib, 1x1 rib. Rib makes it really versatile and easy to fit on a lot of hats. I think width-wise the fit is fine, but as you can see it's really high up. I don't want to mess up my hair, to be honest, but it is about this much too high. So I need to rip back, I think, to about here and then, so 3-4 centimeters below, and then start the increase again. It's just something that I have to do, but don't feel like doing at the moment because this is not going anywhere anytime soon. So I knitted this hat in Sandnes Garn Peer Gynt in a blue-gray melange. It was some scrap yarn from my stash, and it's a long tube with the fold lines you do with double knitting. I do really like that about this pattern. I like Peer Gynt as a yarn. It's nice and rustic, and this is intended for a man. But yeah, I mean, it looks great on me also because blue looks good on me with my blue eyes, but I need to alter the height just a little bit. I don't want to talk about this anymore. If you want to know more about the Wicked Hat by Petiteknit, just watch my previous episode, I think, or the last 2, and I'll talk about that some more. Next, to really exciting finished objects. I think these are the best sweaters that I've knitted. Let's start with my re-knit, the Lyon sweater by Petiteknit. It's a Petiteknit filled episode and mostly knitting for olive yarn filled episode. It's just what I'm really into at the moment. So the Lyon sweater is a sweater, like I've mentioned before, that I already knitted in Drops, what is it called? Drops Daisy, which is 100% non-superwash merino. It feels like crazy. Don't recommend that yarn. I think the sweater looks really scruffy. I wore it in the last episode, so you really can see it. And especially when you're looking down, and because it is a striped sweater, the blue fluff blends on the white stripes and the white fluff blends on the blue stripes. So I really wanted to re-knit this sweater in good quality yarn because I do love the fit of this. It's such a beautiful oversized sweater. And that's mostly the construction. It has a contiguous yoke, as you can see, because the shoulder just sits on the shoulder. So it's not a drop shoulder, but you do get the oversized fit of a drop shoulder basically, but then it fits better at the shoulder part. So you start the sweater at the back. Here you cast on stitches at the back. You do increases. Do I say that correctly? Yeah, these are increases. So you get a little bit of a trapezium shape here. Then you do just a tiny amount. You pick up stitches for the shoulder at those increase seam. You pick up stitches and then you go down. So you do the side portion. After that you do join. You pick up stitches from that side seam and you do a bit longer, I believe, and then you join in the round and do some increases before that as well. I think I've explained this construction so much better previously, but it has been a while since I knitted this. Well, about 2 months since I knitted this top part. I kept this sweater in hibernation for a little bit when I was working on the body and had only started one sleeves because I really wanted to finish my other sweater first. And when I picked this back up, it was done in no time. So the yarn that I used is Knitting for All of Heavy Merino. It is the first time working with this yarn, and so far I really like this. So this is a more of a heavy DK weight yarn, I think. I knitted the body in 4.5 millimeters, and by mistake I knitted the sleeves on 4, but I don't see the difference, so it's fine. By the way, the construction ends with a raglan yoke, as you can see. They do the stripes all along, and knitting stripes makes it such a quick project because it's really addicting. So to always tell yourself like, one more stripe, one more stripe, one more blue stripe, and then I'll go to bed. Well, you know what happens, you get to bed really late. My version is quite a bit more cropped than the original version, but that's always the case. I knitted the size large, just like last time, and I counted the amount of stripes on the body and on the sleeves last time, and I did the exact same thing, and I think it fits perfectly. It's a couple of centimeters bigger than the first version, and that's drapier because the yarn is softer than this. This is a little bit stiffer, but I think that means this will hold up so much better. So before I talk any more about this, here is the clip of me wearing this sweater, and as you can see, it's just nice and wide and oversized. It has the perfect casual look for me and comfort feel. This yellow storm sweater is just a little bit more well, it's not tight, but you know what I mean. I like the oversized look, and I do love this Lyon sweater so much. I would totally knit this again, maybe in a solid color, just for the construction and how good this sweater looks. Because I don't need that many striped sweaters. I have the Olga sweater planned and yarn for it, so that's also a striped sweater. It has quite a big rib. I just did 1x1 rib, and I do have to say 1x1 rib in Knitting for All of Heavy Merino looks really good. I'm not the neatest knitter, I always think, but I think the ribbing looks nice and blocked well, and like all the stitches are so neat, and that's not my doing. I think that's mostly the yarn. So yeah, maybe I can title this episode a little bit like the one where I fell in love with Knitting for All of Yarn, because basically that's what's happened. Just a couple of months ago, in I think around November, December, I bought this yarn maybe that was November. I bought this yarn in the Knitting for Olive Advent sale, and I bought not enough yarn. I bought 10 skeins of the white color. By the way, the cream color is Cloud, which is a neutral whitish creamish color with a pink undertone. So you can see a little bit of a pink hue in it. And then the blue is navy blue. So I bought 10 skeins of Cloud and 2 skeins of navy blue because I misread the pattern, miscalculated it. So I went back a couple of months later, I went to a yarn store here in the Netherlands, in Utrecht, Sticks and Cups, to match up the navy blue yarn, and they had the same dye lot, so that was amazing. So I bought 2 skeins more because the pattern said I actually needed 4 skeins. So 4 blue skeins for the size large and 10 of the main color. Well, what I have left is 2 skeins and I think a little bit more of Cloud. So 2 whole skeins. I only used 8, less than 8 skeins of Cloud. And this is what I have left of navy blue. So 1.5 skein. So I only needed 2.5 skein of the navy blue and 8 skeins of Cloud. So I'm a little bit bummed about that. And that's mostly due with Petiteknit calculating their yarn meterage quite, I want to say roomy, like they give more than enough. Most of the time I don't even save my swatches, but you can totally do that with Petiteknit yarns, patterns. But also I'm just short. I'm 160 centimeters, so my torso is really short. My sweaters are so cropped. Most of the times I don't really like even that it's so boxy. Like my sweater is wider than it is in height. And that sometimes feels a little bit off. But it means that I can buy less yarn. So I'm really keeping track with my Knit and Note app of how many skeins I bought and how much yarn I have left over. So hopefully I can predict in the future a little bit more. If I want an oversized sweater in Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino, then I probably need about 10 to 11 skeins in total. And I have no idea what I want to do with this, because on the one hand it's a lot, but on the other hand it's not enough. I can do mittens with the navy blue. I mean, Cloud is such a beautiful neutral color. I can use it in everything, but I do need more Cloud for one project. And if I want to stripe this together, then it needs to be a really small project. And I don't see myself wearing a striped scarf-ish thingy. A striped stuff? No. I don't know. I'm going to save this, of course, because I ordered this online and I don't have the receipt of the store. I cannot return any of this. So maybe I will buy some more Cloud. It will be in a different dye lot, but I think it probably will be fine. I don't know. But do with that what you will. Maybe if you're short like me, you can. This helps you. Maybe it's just a note for myself. So I'm really glad that I remade the sweater. It went by quite quick. I think I knitted this in a little bit more than 2 months. But like I said, I had a hiatus of 3 or 4 weeks, so I can knit the sweater in a month. I don't really want to, but because it's on a larger needle, it's just a really nice and quick knit. And I think this is a staple for me. This feels like, maybe it's funny to say that because it's striped, but this feels like a neutral sweater. It's just a basic. Goes with everything. I do have to say, I think the neckline is a little bit too high for me. I like it a little bit higher up. And also, just a little part here, I don't really like how it fits. I think it went a little bit wrong with blocking, but it will be fine when I wear this. So I do really hope that this yarn holds up like I think it will be. My friend Heike raves about this yarn, and I'm really excited about how Knitting for Olive on their social media shows sweaters that I made and the yarn that I made it in, and that's maybe 3 years old or even older, and the kids have worn it, and how great it holds up. So I've talked about pilling a lot. I know it's not always a bad thing that it pills. But if you're spending a lot of money on yarn, I do want to feel like it's beautiful still. And yeah, I'm really happy. So next finished object, last finished object, is my Elisabeth blouse. I was working on that the last time, and this is perfection. This is the best thing that I knitted. Although I do have to say that as a sweater that I finished last time, I really love that. I have worn that quite a bit. So the Elisabeth blouse again is a sweater by Petiteknit. It is also a reknit. I knitted this before and I wanted one in a better quality yarn. It is a blouse sweater thing with this nice v-neck and then the collar. It's really drapey, so it's a little bit hard to see. It has a raglan shaping and then it's just stockinette stitch, a couple of centimeters of ribbing. Look at how neat the ribbing is, how neat the stitches look. That's not me, I'm not really the best knitter, the neatest knitter, it's the yarn. So yeah, this is the back. The yarn is Knitting for Olive Merino and Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair, both in Cloud. So Cloud, the same color as the Lyon sweater, because I bought this yarn first. I like this color on me. It has a pinkish undertone and I feel like I'm a cool toned person, that suits me, and it makes it a little bit more interesting. And I don't really like beige-ish undertones, especially for me. So I do like that, and it's not as stark as just a white. I mean, Knitting for Olive has so many white-ish, creamish colors, and this looks like a cloud basically. I like the fluff, and this is the first mohair sweater that I made since almost my first sweater that I made. I made maybe 3 years ago now the sweater number 18 by My Favorite Things Knitwear in drops Kid Silk and drops Lima held together. And that's the only sweater with fluff in it that I can tolerate. I can tolerate it better, but I do hate the feeling here around my collarbone, around my chest. And I really wanted to experiment with mohair again, but now with Knitting for Olive, because I saw this yarn combination again with my friend Heike, who's my biggest influencer in Knitting for Olive yarn, and it just feels so lovely, so soft, that I really wanted to try it. So this yarn I bought in a store. I don't remember on the top of my head how much yarn I bought. I think 6 skeins merino and 7 skeins of soft silk mohair. I do have some leftovers. I have 1 skein and maybe a little bit of the mohair left over and more than 1 skein of merino. So again, 2 skeins too many, unfortunately. I knitted the size extra large because the Elisabeth blouse pattern calls for 6 centimeters of positive ease. Well, if you know me, 6 centimeters definitely is not enough. So I sized up. I knitted this on 3.5 millimeters, I believe, and I think, I don't remember anymore, that I did like 2 rows of extra increases around the yoke just to make sure that it's roomy. And I love how this looks. So here's the clip of me wearing it. I like how it looks untucked, like it falls so beautiful. And that's the drape of the yarn combination and the fabric. I especially like it from the back, how it sits on my shoulder and then falls down. I do really like that. I like the collar, the sweater, the v-neck. And this feels like a basic sweater, but then with a little bit extra. So it's, yeah, for special occasions, but also I just wear this to work. It's just beautiful. And because this was the first time knitting with mohair, I did want to make something with a v-neck. So it doesn't sit on my collarbone area. I can wear a high neck top underneath this, but I have been wearing it just with like a tank top underneath it. And it's fine, I can totally wear this. And maybe I can call this episode the one where I fell in love with mohair. Confession time. I think I fell in love with mohair. I always said, always, and basically every podcast episode, or ever since my almost first one, I said that I don't like mohair. It itches for me, not only on the neck, but everywhere. It sheds a lot, so my tank top underneath it, or the t-shirt that I'm wearing underneath it, was filled with mohair, and with knitting everywhere was the fluff. Well, I was knitting with the wrong mohair, probably, because I've worked with kid silk from Drops, but that's scratchier. And I also worked with Lana Grossa Seta Suri, so it's a Suri yarn, it's really soft, but it sheds like crazy and it still itches. This one didn't shed at all, and I do like the feel. I do have to say, I don't want a high neck collar with mohair still, but this feels so nice and soft on my arms. And it's, like I said, it's perfect for me. I love how it fits. I think the sizing for me is perfect. I do think I'm on gauge. But like I said, I knitted it on 3.5 millimeters instead of 4, I think. Last time I knitted this in a dark, like bottle green color in Vulcanana Pernilla, which is a sport weight yarn. It's 100% non-superwash merino. No, Peruvian wool. Peruvian wool. I like that in first, like when I knitted this, but I've worn that sweater quite a bit, and it has been pilling, and it hasn't stopped pilling. I hope that the sweaters, one like the Beer Gynt, has been pilling a bit, but I hope that it stops soon. So yeah, this is just my new love. My new love. So fortunately for me, I have some new knitting for olive yarn with mohair, and I am really excited about it. And I do think this is my favorite yarn up to date. The merino and mohair combination is perfect. I do really love the heavy merino. I like merino on its own in a fingering weight project. So I think I'm really a big knitting for olive yarn fan now. So I need to be a little bit mindful about purchases, because it is more expensive, but then it feels like something that will be with me for such a long time. Also, I've been learning to sew, or I'm starting to learn how to sew, so some of my budget is going to that. But I have such a beautiful yarn stash at the moment, lots of yarn to choose from. I think I can manage it all the way through like mid-autumn, next autumn, or maybe even winter, with all the yarn that I still have left in stash, and I'm really excited about it. So that's a first. Then let's talk about the Christmas sweater, and then I save my new whip for last. If you haven't watched my previous podcast, I have been working on a Christmas sweater ever since, maybe it was September, October, like in the fall. And I started knitting the newest Christmas sweater by Sandnes Garn. So it's a pattern by Sandnes Garn, and it came with a booklet. So it has like the retro 80s wham vibe for me. It has a really wide neckline. It looks drop shoulder, but it is a raglan technically, but the raglan is really like here on the shoulders, and it has reindeers and the red flowers and Christmas tree and 2 types of reindeers. I really like those details, and I like how it looks on her. I've shown it the first time, then it was way too tight, my gauge was really off. The pattern calls for needle size 3 millimeter. You knit this with Sandnes Garn Tynn Gynt, which is fingering weight yarn. I do like that yarn. I bought like a whole bundle of the yarn and the pattern combined. So the pattern calls for 3 millimeter needles, and then a gauge of 27 by 33 stitches. So, but then in color work, I can get that tension just knitting straight like stockinette stitch, but in color work you knit so much tighter, and this was the first real color work sweater for me. So the first time that was a fail, and I already started with bigger needles, like 3.5 I think. Then I sized up to 3.75 millimeter needles and cast it on like the 2XL, I don't know anymore. And I showed you that, but then it had like a bunch here on the high neck, under the neckband. And I cast it on 1 stitch in every stitch for the neckband. That is more stitches than the pattern suggested. And it really wasn't feeling all that great. So I ripped it out. And then since last podcast, I started it again. Third time. I thought like third time's a charm. And I do have to say, I like knitting color work. I like knitting these color work motifs. So it goes by quite quickly for me, I think. And then it looks like this. So what I did was needle size 4. I think the 2XL or maybe the extra large, but I casted on more stitches on the shoulder. Because the problem was the shoulder was really narrow. You start with the same amount of stitches on the shoulder for a size 2XS to like a 4 extra large, which shouldn't be like that. I want to call this out. This pattern doesn't work. I don't think this pattern works. Maybe for an extra small if you do want to knit that, or maybe if you want to just hang it up in like a window sill. But for me it doesn't work. So I casted on the double amount of stitches, and I thought like it will be wider and the shoulder will fit. So that works, the shoulder fits. But then I did the neckline, and I already was folding down the neckline, and then I hated how that looked. Because like you can see, and I'm not going to try this on, the neckline is crazy huge. Crazy huge. It comes like, this is my shoulder, and it falls like from here, then really low, and then to there. And if you knit the 4 or 5 centimeters high up neck, then it is really open, really wide, but it also, and you can knit it higher up, but I don't like a sweater that starts the neckline so wide and so low. Then it feels like that's a homemade sweater. And I want a sweater that looks a little bit more like it's a store-bought sweater. So now I'm giving up. I don't like this pattern anymore. I can estimate for about 50 hours on the sweater. This is what I have to show for it. And I'm ripping it back out. Also, look at my inside. It's getting neater by every time that I knit it. I mean, my skills have progressed. I'm still quite positive about this whole sweater experience, I do have to say. Maybe that's because I'm a positive-minded person. But this doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And I can't recommend this pattern personally. But maybe for you it will work, or maybe in a different yarn, and like a thicker yarn it can work, because then your gauge will be different. But for now, because I'm really bummed that I have all these yarn. I have the scraps of this, but I think I had like 6 skeins of the main color, Tynn Gynt, which is with this Tweedy, which isn't a color that, like, look at this. If I have a sweater with just this, that really doesn't suit me. Then I have 1 color basically of every other color. So I have 1 brown, 1 red, 1 green. I have a yellow. And then I have 3 other neutrals, a black, a brown grayish color, and a beigeish grayish color. So I have all this yarn, and then 6 skeins of the main color. So I am really bummed about this, because this has cost me almost, I think, 70 euros. So what I'm thinking, because I'm positive, I want to think positive, is I do really want to make a Christmas sweater sometime, but I'm going to choose a different pattern. And maybe I will knit, oh, how is that pattern called? There was that pattern by Siren Nordland that was really popular I feel like this winter, with a colorwork yoke with like a flower motif, and I have seen some alterations of that, and I thought maybe I can do one motif in red, one motif in green, and then still keep the same main color, maybe, and then use those yarns for a Christmassy theme. Or maybe I can do like a different colorwork thing that isn't designed as a Christmas sweater, but I can change the colors of them. So that's what I'm thinking right now, but I know I won't be using all the yarns. Like a basic fingering weight black, nothing wrong with that. And I feel like with maybe in the future a yellow for something crazy color work, or like a gift, or in a hot water bottle cover, or in mittens, I can work with that. But these are not my color, like you can see. So maybe those can be used in a gift. And I don't know if I want the base to be this, but I have enough yarn of this for a base, and then it will be a fingering weight sweater, or I can hold it double, but I don't know if I have enough yarn. I don't know. But I'm going to work that out. I'm going to be positive about a Christmas sweater and about this yarn, because it's a nice quality yarn. It's Tynn Gynt by Sandnes Garn. I like that yarn. I just don't like the whole project. So that's last thing about this Christmas sweater. Maybe in the future you will see me talk about another Christmas sweater, but I do think I'm going to postpone that till after summer, or maybe when I'm bored in between. So that's the Christmas sweater. Thank you so much for all your tips and your willingness to help me with everything. It's just that I had in my head that I wanted to change it. So yeah, it is what it is. I feel like I'm losing the light, so I'm going to talk about my last whip. And I'm really excited about that. It's knitting for olive yarn, but now I'm using these beauties. So this is merino and soft silk mohair in red currant. It is really bright on camera, but it's a beautiful, beautiful deep red. The merino, the mohair, sorry, does have a white like base, so you can see the white through that. And on the one hand, I think I'm a little bit bothered about that, but on the other hand, it just looks a little bit more mild and interesting. So I bought this yarn in the Advent sale from Knitting for Olive. So I bought 6 skeins of both, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with that. And I decided on the Agnete sweater by Petiteknit. Again, I don't know if I have enough yarn, but I'm going to crop it, so we'll see. I'm not going to worry about that. It's an all over brioche stitch V-neck cardigan. Again, I wanted to make a V-neck something just to get used to the mohair, and I really like the look of this cardigan. I mean, brioche stitch is so beautiful. It looks from afar like a wider, like just a ribbing, but then wider. I have done a brioche sweater before. The September sweater by Petiteknit was also one of my first sweaters. Didn't use the correct yarn for that. I made it with a DK with a mohair, or DK with brushed alpaca even. So like Aran weight, and the pattern isn't for an Aran weight. Anyways, this feels lovely. I'm knitting according to pattern on needle size 3, and I think I'm on gauge. I haven't blocked my swatch because I was too lazy for that, but also because I wanted to save up the yarn. I feel like it will be fine. It's an oversized cardigan. So you start with a bit of double knitting. So you do this portion of double knitting and one side is on hold, as you can see, or both sides were on hold. Then you pick up stitches on the one side and you start the brioche stitch. And for this pattern, the instruction videos that are linked on Petiteknit's website are really helpful. I really enjoyed that. So you do the increases. I really like how that looks. And brioche stitch isn't really that hard. It's yarn overs and knitting two stitches together. The hard thing with brioche stitch is when you mess up. It's not that easy to pick up stitches, and I had made a mistake. On one side I forgotten the increase, so I missed 2 stitches because it's a double increase. And I did decide to rip out quite a bit, and then I was really careful holding it on my lap. I grabbed like a 2mm needle and I picked up the stitches back up. I was really quite confident about that and it worked fine. Sometimes I do have to say I don't really knit the mohair that well, so I do have to pick that back up really careful, because I do want this to be, I don't want to be too much of a perfectionist, but it's beautiful yarn, it's good quality. I want this sweater to be with me for such a long time. I do want to be mindful about it and not be sloppy. If you've done the back portion, then you have the stitches that are on hold back on your needle. You pick stitches up on the side of the increases, and then you do the front bit. So this is the right front. So from the back it will probably look a little bit like this. And this is the front. So you knit the bottom band at the same time, which I really enjoy, so you don't have the tedious tasks at the end of like spending 20 hours, 10 hours knitting a double knitted bottom band. You do that at the same time on the same needle, and then you have these increases, which are more visible, but that's just part of the design. And I'm almost done with this front part, but this takes quite a bit of time. I think I need to do 10 repeats, which means 20 rows. So this was, I don't know, more than 70 repeats. So 140 rows, I think, was this. I'm almost done. Then you do the other side the same. So you can work with these stitches that are on hold, pick up stitches, do the front. Then you can join under the arms. And this is like in this, basically. And if I've done that for a bit, I'm going to work on the sleeves, so I can hopefully figure out a little bit if I have enough yarn for the body. Like I said, also for that, I really like that I have knitted the bottom band at the same time, so I can probably calculate a little bit better how much yarn one row will take, or 2 rows for like one up and down. And the nice thing about brioche stitch is that the right side and wrong side is the same. So you don't have all the purling for a cardigan, it's just the same stitch. Although I don't really hate purling. I like that these increases are stretchy as well. So I'm really excited about this project. I'm working quite monogamously the last 2 months, I think. Like first for a bit with the Lyon sweater, then I picked back up the Elisabeth blouse and I was working that for 3 or 4 weeks straight. Both are finished, and then now I'm just working on this. And I really like monogamous knitting for a change. So maybe that will change for like the summer knits. I don't know about you, but when are you starting with your summer knits? I feel like if I start too early, then I'm really sick of the summer knits in August. But also, my summer knits have not been that successful in the past. So aside for a Barbary top and Candlestick number 9, I haven't been excited about my summer knits. Well, look at my holes by James and Watts. I like that one. But everything else I don't like. So I really want to be mindful about my summer knits, be mindful about the yarn choices, make some things that I really feel like I'm going to wear. I hope there are coming some cute summer patterns, because I feel like some designers, but they're like from Scandinavia, so it's colder out there, but they're still coming out with winter patterns, like new sweaters. I don't know if I want to start a new sweater after this one is finished. So in May, I don't want to start maybe a new sweater. I have yarn enough for new sweaters, so maybe I will. But I feel like I want a fingering weight t-shirt, because I have enough fingering weight yarn, and also with the amount of yarn for a t-shirt kind of thing, like the poppy tee, but then fingering weight. Or something like camisole number 9, but then different. So yeah, I'm waiting for that, for cute summer patterns. And I don't know, I feel like if I keep knitting on this and I enjoy it, then maybe at the end of April, beginning of May, which will be in about a month, then I have my spring break. I'm going to France for a week, so I will have a vacation project, and the week before that, or 2 weeks before that, so now in 3 weeks I'm going to Rome for work. So I want to lead a small project with me for the in-between moments and to relax for a little bit. If you don't know, I'm a teacher, so we're going to Rome for like all the culture and visiting the sites and the churches, and I'm going to guide them the whole week. So that is such an amazing part of my job. I'm really excited about all the pasta and the pizza and the nice things and the beautiful buildings and weather, the sun. I'm really excited about that. So yeah, I feel like if I can knit on this for a couple of weeks, for 3 weeks more, maybe it is finished, maybe not. Then I want a Rome project, and then I can think about my France project, my holiday project. And I don't know, I feel like those need to be more springy summer projects, but I don't know if that's a little bit too early for my taste, because I don't want to start too early. But if I start too late, then I'm not able to wear the things that I make. If I start in end of June, like mid-June with a camisole, then it's finished in July somewhere, and I have a month or 2 months to wear it. But I don't like to wear wool when it's really hot, so yeah. That's me rambling about future plans. I want to make the Olga sweater in the Mindful Creators yarn. I have this yarn combination, knitting for olive merino and soft silk mohair and poppy blue. I want to make a sweater with that. So yeah, I have ideas and plans. Anyways, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to make some dinner for myself. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I really enjoyed talking to you now. If I ramble like this, it feels like I'm at home with talking and etc. So I really needed this again, I feel like. So thank you, and hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.